Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today is the 1st of March and so I want to start a new reading vlog. So let's get into the books I'm currently reading so you know what's going on right now. The first book I have to talk about is The Girl in the Tower by Catherine Arden. I'm currently exactly halfway through this book. This is the second book in the Winter Night trilogy and I'm really enjoying this. This follows our main character of Vasya, and she is living in a medieval Russia kind of deal, but this is a little bit of a fantasy as well because she sees a lot of things that other people can't see. So yeah, this series is great fun and I really like this book so far. Next up, I'm rereading The Lord of the Rings with my partner. We made it to chapter 5 of The Fellowship of the Ring so far, so we're gonna continue with this slowly probably, but hopefully, you know, a little bit at a time because I'm reading this to him and yeah, I enjoy the reread of my favorite book so much. I currently have 9 hours left of the audiobook of Lady Hotspur by Tessa Gretton. This is the second book in this Ines Lear world, so it's not a direct continuation, but a lot of the characters pop up again from the Queens of Ines Lear. So far I'm really enjoying it, but it's a very long audiobook, so it's taken me a while. And then last but not least, today I think I will start Wondersmiths. This is the second book in the Morgan Crow series. I'm gonna buddy read this with my best friend because I gave this to her for Christmas and she's been like, when do we read this? So yeah, I think it's finally time to start this. So yeah, I loved the first book in this series so much and I think I will read the second book now, and later on in the year I'll probably reread both of them at my own time because, you know, buddy reading is fun, but it also means, you know, just reading things at a different pace than you would on your own. So I'm also excited to reread these somewhen this year. So I hope you're excited to follow me through my reading month and I'll talk to you soon. So it's the 2nd of March and yesterday I started off with the first 3 chapters of A Wondersmith. So I'm now on page 64 in this book and so far I'm really enjoying it. As did the first one, this one pulled me right into the story and I can't wait to go on that adventure with Morgan and find out what's going on and how, you know, the Wondrous Society is gonna be for her. Also, we managed to read the next chapter of Lord of the Rings, so we're now on page 150 with that, and we are ready to really start the journey out of the Shire now. I'm super excited about that. As I said a million times before, this is one of my favorite books of all time, so this is gonna be a good journey. So it's the 3rd of March and yesterday I read a little bit more, like 2.5 chapters of A Wondersmith. So we are now getting into the Wondrous Society and learning what the actual, you know, building looks like, where they have their kind of headquarters and school. So this is very interesting. I just love the witty humor of this book. Like there's so many just super small details, but they're hilarious. So yeah, this book is a lot of fun. I really enjoy reading this. And then we read chapter 6 in The Lord of the Rings and we just met Tom Bombadil and yeah, loving it. So yesterday I continued reading The Girl in the Tower and this book is so good. I feel like the last 2/3 are so action-packed, you really don't know what's coming. I had such a hard time putting this book down. I actually spent way too long in the bathtub because I couldn't get myself to stop reading and get out. So I love this book a ton. I made it now to part 4, so I think there's like 3 or 4 chapters left, which is not a lot. And I wish I could finish it today, but also I have a ton of other stuff to do, so we'll see about that. But oh my god, this book is so good and so different from the first book. I feel like this one is so much more action-packed and definitely has some Mulan vibes. So I want to finish this. So today is the 7th of March and yesterday I finished The Girl in the Tower by Catherine Arden, second book in the Winter Night trilogy, and I must say I absolutely love this. I gave it 5 stars. I think this is such a good book. If you like Mulan kind of stories, you probably love this. It's action-packed, but you still have some character development and it is way more fast-paced than the first book, but I also like that some of the secrets or mysteries were revealed in this one. There's still a lot to, you know, doing the last book, so I'm very excited to pick up The Winter of the Witch soon. But I currently have the Codex checked out from the library in the German edition, and I have to get this back to the library by Tuesday. So I think I will, read this today or tomorrow, because I hope it is quite short. The other book is only like 3.5 hours, so I guess I can read this quite quickly, and I really want to read it before I have to get it back to the library. So quickest of quick updates, because I'm running late for work and I have to update you on the other stuff later. But today I have to return the Codex, and currently on page 150, so I don't know whether I will finish it or whether I will have to return it unread. This is so annoying. I wish I would have taken the time to read this. So far I'm not really that impressed. There were a couple of good lines, but for like 150 pages, but I'm really not that interested in poetry slams, so I guess that's part of the problem here. We'll see. I'll update you later today. So I did it. I finished the Codex. I read the German translation, and I must say this might be like an unpopular opinion, but I would give this book like 3.5 stars from reading it in the German translation. I also just listened to the 5 minutes on Audible that you can listen to for free, and I think I would have given it 4 stars if I listened to the audiobook, but I am just not really interested in poetry slams, so I guess this kind of format is a little bit lost on me. And while I feel like the story is important and inspiring as well, I also think that, I'm not the main audience for one, so that's probably a big point why I didn't love it. But also, I just have trouble connecting with characters through poetry. So I guess that if this would have been a novel, I would have enjoyed it so much more. So yeah, just take that with a grain of salt, but I wasn't blown away by it. I think I had too high expectations, and yeah, I have a very troubled relationship with my mother as well, so I guess these kind of stories don't really sit well with me either, because with these kind of things, as you grow older, you kind of bury them under stuff, so you don't think about it all the time. And so I feel like I have cut myself off of feelings like that as well. So I think this is just not a book for me, but I can definitely see why people love it. Just not for me. So I'm also only 30 minutes away from the end of Lady Hotspur, which I also don't know how I feel about it right now. Like, all the major things have happened pretty much. And while I did see many things coming, I still don't know how I feel about them, so I don't know whether I will finish it today, because I don't really feel like it right now. So maybe I'll talk about it more in a later update.
Audible hopes you have enjoyed this program.
So today's the 11th of March. My day is definitely not going the way I planned. But I just finished Lady Hotspur, and I think I would give it about 3.5 stars in the end. I think that The Queens of Innisleer is definitely the better book, but I also don't really see why a lot of people hate on this one so much, because the themes and the feeling of the book is still very similar to Queens of Innisleer. And you actually have the same world, the same kind of magic, and I don't think that this book really works if you have not read The Queens of Innisleer, because there is a lot of crossover, a lot of characters that pop up that were in the first book. The whole magic system is very, very rooted in that first book. But yeah, I don't know, I did enjoy it. I will have to think about it a little bit more to really get, eloquent about it, but I did like the 3 main characters, especially Mora and Lady Hotspur, and I do kind of like the ending, even though I have to, think about it a little bit more. But overall, as I said, I think it is a good book, and I think that it's just a little bit not as good as Queens of Innisleer was. So now I have to figure out which audiobook I want to listen to next. But before I do that, I have to clean my apartment a little bit more, and then I'll let you know. So I think I've decided that I want to get Truly Devious, because the trilogy is complete now, and I'm just not in the mood for the next fantasy book yet, so I hope this one's good. Today's the 12th of March, and I don't really have a reading update because I got my new audiobook yesterday, as you saw, but then it wouldn't download on my phone. So I decided to first reinstall Audible and see whether that fixes things, but it didn't. Still, it wouldn't download. And so I thought it would be a good idea to restart my phone. And then I forgot my code to get back into it, and I messed it up. And now I have to wait till they fix it so I can get back into my phone. So I'm really annoyed about that. I won't be listening to my audiobook for a couple of days now, probably. But I'm going into the bathtub because this week has been horrible, and I'm gonna start the Rosie Project. I don't know if I will like this book, to be honest, but I got it out from the library one day because I thought maybe I want to read something fluffy and easy. And I guess today is a day where maybe I want to read something fluffy and easy. So I'll start this, but yeah, we'll see whether I like it or not. I would really like to finish the Winter Night trilogy with Winter of the Witch, but I don't know. I think I'll just try Rosie, and if I don't like it, I can DNF it and start something else. Hey guys, so it is the 13th of March. It's Friday 13th, which is a day I really like, but a lot of people don't. The corona fever and panic has definitely reached my workplace now. So today we got an email saying, that we should work from home if we can, not to come in. And there's a cat, she wants a treat. She's been a really good girl, so she will get a treat in a second. I'm really interested to see how this all plays out and how it affects my work, because I know that I'm just so much more productive when I'm at work, and I can work from home, but it's just so much harder. And yeah, so also I have a couple of things that, are happening in the next weeks that might be cancelled. So it's all just a bit weird, and I really don't like this situation, because the more I hear about it, the more I start to feel sick just because I hear about it so much. So yeah, I don't know. I just really don't like it, and I wish that this whole panic thing would just go away. But apart from that, yesterday I started the Rosie Project. I made it to page 139, so a little bit more than a third. And so far it is fun, it's cute, but it's not like blowing me away. I found the beginning a little bit difficult. I do like reading about people in university settings, but with this main character, it's a very stereotypical way, and yeah, so it was hard for me to get into that, but I do like Rosie. I think she's a pretty fun character, and I like that she's in like my age range, which I don't read about a lot. So we'll see how I get on with it. I know that some people really didn't like the rep because the main character is not like on page neurodiverse, but it's kind of hinted at. So yeah, I don't know about that, to be honest. It still reminded me of the Kiss Quotient, so maybe if you worry about the rep, pick up that one instead. But I think the Rosie Project doesn't have any explicit sex scenes, but I'm not sure about that. So yeah, I'll keep you updated on that, but we'll see. This is not my usual genre, so I don't know a lot about the books. And apart from that, I also started my audiobook yesterday, which is Truly Devious, and I found the beginning to be a little bit weird, but I'm like 40 minutes into it now, which is not a lot. And I'm feeling to, find the groove with it. And I'm excited to see where it goes. So far, I don't really have an opinion. The cat still is waiting for a treat. She's such a poor girl. So yeah, lots of stuff happening. What has happened to this world? So today I finished the Rosie Project. It is the 15th of March, and I kind of matched my lipstick to the book, but that wasn't on purpose. So I just finished this book. It was a very, very quick read. This is not something that I usually read, so it's hard for me to review as well. But overall, I think it is a fun story. This has been around for a very long time now, so many people have read it already. Now, I know that that some people criticize that the main character seems to be on the autism spectrum and that the representation is not that great. I think that this book doesn't do that much damage, but obviously I'm not on the autism spectrum, so I'm not really here to judge. But in the book, it is not explicitly said that he is on the spectrum, it's just hinted at. And also, I feel like while you can take the wrong messages from this book, it still leaves it out in the open a little bit, and it is free to interpretation. Now, what I would suggest you don't take from this book is that love heals everything, because that's obviously not the case. But I feel like this book does portray a kind of quirky person that has issues with social situations in a very good way, and it shows that these people also deserve love. It even had me at the brink of tears one time, but yeah, I feel like I would have given it 4 stars, but the ending took then a turn that I didn't like again, so I decided to give it 3.5 stars. It's just not my usual genre, so I don't really like the typical tropes. I wanted to mention that this book doesn't have any sex scenes in it, so if you're uncomfortable reading that, this is just a romance novel without any sex scenes. So yeah, overall this was enjoyable, but I would say, you know, take it with a grain of salt and keep in mind that this is not a representation of the autism spectrum and people that are on the autism spectrum, but just a book that is set at a university, which is something that I really like. It deals with characters that are, I think, in their 30s, which is also something I do like and that is not seen very often. But yeah, so as I said, it was very enjoyable, and if this is your cup of tea and you still haven't picked it up, I would recommend it. And now on to other things. So a book I want to definitely start, but I'm not quite sure if I will start it today, is The Winter of the Witch. This is the last book in the Winter Night trilogy, so I definitely want to read it because the first 2 books were amazing, and I have a strong feeling that this will be a 5-star book as well. So yeah, this is highest on my list right now. Also, I'm still buddy reading the Calling of Morgan Crow, the second book, with my best friend, but we're not really that fast with it. So yeah, I hope we will make progress in that and maybe even finish it next week, but we'll see. I'm also like a bit more than an hour into Truly Devious. Right now I don't really have an opinion, nothing really has happened yet, but I do enjoy the audiobook so far, and I hope that I can listen to it some more as soon as I can unlock my phone again, which I still can't, so yay for me. So today's the 17th of March. Yesterday I read a little bit more of Wondrous Myth, and I also discussed it with my best friend because we're buddy reading this, and we've both been kind of slow with it so far, so I hope that with all the social distancing going on we can pick up pace a little bit. So I'm currently at the beginning of chapter 8, and I am enjoying this book a lot, even though Morgan is going through some, you know, not so great stuff right now, and so I hope that I can continue reading this. Now today I also found out that all the careers and prompts for the Magical Readathon in April are out already, so I made a little TBR pile and selected the kind of careers I wanted to focus on. So these careers are Culinary Sorcerer, Hogwarts Professor, Librarian, and Mind Medic. Now the Mind Medic one has the most prompts, so you have to read 8 books for that, and the Culinary Sorcerer has the least amount of prompts. And if I wanted to have all of these options, I would have to read 9 books. Now this is my little TBR pile. This is only 8 books, I believe, but I don't have one with a shapeshifter because that's not something that is on my bookshelves for some reason. But I do have a couple of ideas how to deal with this last challenge. But yeah, so I'm very excited for April, and I hope you're too. I'll definitely do a monthly vlog as well for that time. And as you can see, I have lots of plans. So yeah, I have some other reading plans that are not compatible, is that the word? So they are not fitting into these reading plans, because the last book of the Shadow Me series is coming out, like the 6th book, and so I had this idea that I would reread the whole series from book 1. And these are like super quick reads, so I can probably read these in only a couple of weeks. But yeah, I'm not quite sure if I can do that in the remainder of March now. So yeah, I'm not quite sure how I will handle that, but as I said, super excited for the Magical Readathon. I hope you too. If this video goes up, kind of early, it's probably not been going on for that long, because obviously you will see this after March is over, and right now we still have a little bit of time left. So we'll see, but I'm so excited. So yesterday I started a book for my PhD thesis, and that is Liquid Modernity by Zygmunt Bauman. And yeah, I'm making my way through it. I hope that I can get to like the 2/3 point today, because yeah, I decided to read this completely because you never know where the important parts are with books like these. I want to use this as a theoretical, base for my hypotheses, whatever. So yeah, I'm reading that one right now. And then I also started The Winter of the Witch, and oh my god, that was a crazy beginning. I got to page 92, so wow. I don't really know where this book is going right now. Like, doesn't look very good for the characters, but I heard that this book is fantastic. Sam from Thoughts on Tomes is the channel name. She just did a gush about this because she loved this book so much. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I will love it. But wow, that was a really, really rough beginning. Hey guys, so I haven't updated you in a very long time. Today is the 30th of March, and the reason I haven't updated you is that I have been slumping in my reading a little bit, so there wasn't really enough to update you on. But today I just want to do a quick catch up. So I finished Liquid Modernity by Zygmunt Bauman. I read this for my PhD thesis because I want to incorporate this in my theory part of my thesis. So this is not a very large book, and it was very interesting. I think that Bauman definitely has interesting thoughts, and that's also the reason why I thought it would be good for my dissertation. But yeah, this is probably not for the average reader, even though I think it's very interesting, and I talk more about it in the wrap-up part. Then we did read quite a bit in The Lord of the Rings. I'm reading this to my partner, and we made it to page 340. So we're in the middle of Elrond's little conference thingy. I don't know what the English name for that is, but yeah. This is my least favorite part of the book, so we're trying to get through this quite quickly and get on the road again to, see more of Middle-earth. I do love Rivendell, but being there stuck when everyone's just telling the story of the ring and stuff like that, it has always been the most difficult chapter for me to get through. So yeah, I'm very glad that we're making such good progress with this, and so we'll probably be finished with it very soon thanks to the isolation. And then lastly, I made it to page 14 in Wondersmith, so I'm about 50% through this now. I hope that I can finish this before the month is over. I was, I started this on the 1st of March and I still haven't finished it. It's very bad. But whenever I read it in like really big chunks. It's just hard for me to get started and follow through. So yeah, we'll see whether I can do this, and if I don't, this will go into April, even though I have a huge TBR for the Magical Readathon, and this doesn't really fit in, because I also have not read anything else in The Winter of the Witch, which, I also thought I would be finishing in March. So yeah, it's not been a great time for reading. I've been working a lot and stuff like that, and it's just a little bit demotivating not to be able to do anything else than being stuck at home. So I guess the things you can do at home are just a little bit less fun. But we'll see how that goes. I really hope that April will be much better because of the Magical Readathon, and I will keep you updated. Hey guys, so it is April now. This is my last check-in for this vlog. I wanted to quickly tell you about my reading and where I'm at right now. So I'm on page 385 in Wondersmith, and this is the beginning of, I think, the 21st chapter. So I have a little bit of it left, I'm enjoying this a lot. I really think this is a wonderful second book in the series, and I'm so excited for the third one to come out soon. So yeah, I love Morrigan. She's such a great character, but unfortunately I did not finish this book in March, even though I started it on the 1st. So that was a huge failure on my part. But yeah, so this will be finished in April. With The Winter of the Witch, I'm on page 92 still, and this isn't too bad because so I can read this for one of the challenges of the Magical Readathon. Still, I really wanted to read this right away, and then I just didn't read for about 2 weeks. So yeah, this is unfortunate, but I'm also still excited to finish this series in April. Together with my partner, I made it to page 355 in The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, and we're right now at the point where the Fellowship is leaving Rivendell. So I'm very glad that we surpassed the Rivendell part. As I said in a previous video, I think that is my least favorite part in all of the books. So yeah, we're done with that now, and we're ready to go on to the rest of the journey with the Fellowship of the Rings. Then lastly, for audiobooks, with my real audiobook, Truly Devious, I still have 7.5 hours left. I really didn't listen to anything at all. That's because, I'm stuck at home and I usually listen to my audiobook either when I'm on the bus to work or when I'm home alone and I'm like doing the dishes and stuff like that. And right now my partner is here, so we're doing the dishes together and I'm not going to work. I work from home. So yeah, my audiobook time has been cut short a lot. And then on the BookTube channel Peter Likes Books, Peter Mon is actually reading his book, so you can listen to about 2 chapters a day. And it's called The Before Now and After Then. And I started listening to that. I think I'm like 2 or 3 videos behind right now, but it is very enjoyable as well. So I'm planning on listening to all of those. So I have another book read, and this was one that I had on my wish list actually, and then it disappeared because right now you can't buy it anywhere, and that's why he decided to read it out loud for everyone who wants to hear about it. So that's kind of cool. So overall, I would say March wasn't the greatest reading month, but I still hope you had fun watching this vlog part, and we're now transitioning over into the wrap-up bit, so stay tuned. Hey guys, and welcome back to this wrap-up part. So I will now talk quickly about all the books I read in March. Unfortunately, March was not the reading month I was trying to have. I wanted to read about 7 books every month, and I only finished 5 in March as well, and I also did so in February, I think. So the thing is that you would think, with being home a lot, you get a lot of reading done, but with being, self-isolating and stuff like that, I have been not reading so much, not because I'm like too worried or I can't concentrate or anything like that, but just because my partner is here with me, so I'm not alone, and obviously, when you're together you don't read as much as you would be doing if you're alone. So yeah, that's been a little bit of a struggle, but I hope April will be so much better. But without further ado, let's get into the books. Now, the first book I finished in March and absolutely loved, gave 5 stars to, is The Girl in the Tower by Catherine Arden. This is the second book in the Winter Night trilogy, and in this one we still follow our main character of Vasya. Now, Vasya is a witch, and she can see those little house ghosts that are part of the Russian folklore. This series is set in Russia in the Middle Ages, when there really wasn't any Russia yet. But I don't know much about this time period, so this is super interesting for me. So it is kind of a historical setting, but then you also have the fantasy elements to that, and I love the combination of that. This book is so much more fast-paced than The Bear and the Nightingale, which is the first book in this series, and I just loved it. This is so good. I love Vasya in this book so much more. I love her relationship kind of with the Winter King, which is probably what we're all here for. But I also love the side characters that we get in this book, which is Vasya's sister and also her her brother who decided to become a monk. And so we meet these two again after them being away for most of the first book. We only had them in the beginning of that book, and then they went to start their own lives basically. And now Vasya is back in their lives, and so we are too, and I love that. I love the whole aspect of the girl in the tower and also the ghost in the tower. And this has definitely some Mulan vibes, but yeah, I just loved it. I love the setting. I love everything about this book. So, you know, I could be here talking about it forever, but all I'm gonna say is 5 stars. Go read this series. Now, obviously, my plan was to then read the next book in the series immediately, but some things got in between. That's why the next book I finished was The Poet X, and this is a book that I had checked out from the library, but someone else wanted to check it out, so I had to return it quite quickly. Now, The Poet X is a book that is written in verse, so that was very easy to get through. You can read it quite quickly. I think the audiobook's only like 4 hours or something. I had the German copy, which I think was a mistake because the translation really wasn't that good. It wasn't done by a professional translator, but by a person who does poetry slams in Germany. And I feel like even though this person might be good at writing poetry, she's not necessarily good at translating poetry. And I think even though this might be a selling point for the German audience that love poetry slams, which I'm absolutely not. I really don't know what poetry slams are about, so whatever. But yeah, it just wasn't done in a good way. There were like moments when you could definitely see the mistakes that were made in the translation because the translation didn't make any sense. But, you know, with having quite a good knowledge of English, I could see where, you know, this was translated from if you took it like word for word, but that wouldn't make the same sense in German. Whatever, it was just a mistake. Even though I still enjoyed this book, I think that there's definitely an audience for it, but I'm not that audience. So I decided to give it 3.5 stars in the end, just because this is not my favorite format of text, and it's also not, you know, I'm not the target group basically. So I guess it's okay that I only enjoyed it, but I didn't absolutely love it like many people did. This story follows a girl who lives in a quite religious family, and she's basically fallen in love for the first time with a guy. It's quite innocent, it's really sweet, and I did like the way everything ends up in the end. So I definitely see that the book has many strong points. As I said, I'm just not the target audience, so it didn't, you know, catch me the way it does probably like teenage people who can identify with the content more. Also, a very strong theme in this book is problems in the mother-daughter relationship. That's a little bit of a touchy subject for me, so I was fine. It's not like a trigger, but it's just something that I try to stay away from a little bit, just, you know, to keep my distance because now I'm a grown-up and, you know, things have changed from when I was a teenager. I had a troubled relationship with my mom when I was a teenager, so this is just something that I try to stay away from a little bit, but as I said, I think it is handled in a very good way in this book, and that's something I want to stress. Then the next book I finished was Lady Hotspur, which is the second book that kind of follows the Queens of Innis Lear. Some people have said that you can read it as a standalone because you don't really have the same characters. It is set a couple of 100 years later, but I disagree. Now, I think you will not like this book if you have not read The Queens of Innis Lear. That being said, I had read The Queens of Innis Lear last year, and so I absolutely was so drawn in by this word again, and, you know, seeing at least some of the characters again, like Ben. Oh my god, I love him so much. Oh. But also some other characters, obviously, and their kind of history, you know, they are kind of the history of that new book. So I think you get so much more out of it if you've read The Queens of Innis Lear before. That being said, I feel like Lady Hotspur wasn't quite as good as the Queens of Innisleer. I do agree on that. And I had some issues with one of the main character, which is Hel. I did love the two other girls, Banamora and Lady Hotspur. I think they were great and I would love to be their friend. And I also loved all the family dynamics with that. But Hel was such a pain in the ass for most of the book, and I think I think she was supposed to be, but still, she got on my nerves a lot. Apart from that, I think the story is not quite as compelling as the Queens of Innisleer. I just like the characters a little bit more in that first book, and I knew that some of the enjoyment I had with Lady Hotspur were from the nostalgia factor, like being back in this world and seeing some of the characters again just made it so much better than it probably is if you read it as a standalone. So overall, I gave Lady Hotspur 3.5 stars. I could say what it's about, but it's very hard for me to put into words. This is a retelling of a Shakespeare play, but I don't really recall which one. I think it's Henry the Somethings. I don't know. I don't know Shakespeare, to be honest. But it is basically set around three girls who were friends as children and teenagers, and now they're kind of plotted against each other. So basically Banamora and Hel are fighting for the same throne, and Lady Hotspur is the one that is kind of caught in between because she loves both of her friends, but she has to decide for a side. So yeah, I love this world so much. I think it's such an atmospheric world. I love how they incorporate stuff like prophecies. That's just so fascinating. And the whole magic system of these books is just amazing. Like, I've just done a recommendations video for the owls. And if you like witchcraft, magic, stuff like that, I think the magic system is so great in these books by Tessa Cretton. So check them out if you're interested. Then the next book I finished, very not on brand for me, is The Rosie Project. I'm not sure how to say the author's name, so I'm not even trying. But yeah, I got this from the library and I just had it for so long that I needed to return it. And then Corona happened and now all the libraries are closed, so I guess I will have that for a very long time now. But yeah, apart from that, I read this just because I don't like returning books unread, even especially if I had them for like 4 months. The Rosie Project is a book about a guy. He's a scientist. He's possibly on the spectrum, and he decides that he wants to find a wife. And so he makes up this whole plan with a questionnaire, trying to find the perfect wife in a very efficient way. And meanwhile, he meets another girl who's definitely not wife potential, who definitely doesn't have wife potential, but then he starts falling for her, and that's kind of that story. Now, I did enjoy this book. I'm not really a romance reader, so this was quite out of my comfort zone, but it had a couple of things that I do like. For one, it was set at a university for the most part, and that's something I really like. Our main character is a assistant professor, I think, and the love interest, she's a student of psychology, if I remember correctly. So yeah, we have that kind of university setting that I'm absolutely obsessed with. Also, this is set in Australia, I believe, which is something that I don't read about that often, so that was fun as well. And also, I did like the age range of the main characters because they're in my age range, so like almost 30 or even over 30, which is something that I don't read about a lot. So yeah, this was the things that definitely pulled me in and made me enjoy this book. I have heard some people don't really like the rep in this book because, as I said, the main character could be on the spectrum, but it is not spelled out on page. There's only like references that this might be a possibility. So it's hard to judge a book by that because, you know, it never says that he is on the spectrum. So I don't know. I had a hard time, thinking about that. In the end, I gave this 3.5 stars as well, because as I said, I did enjoy it, but it's just not my favorite genre. And if these books weren't so easy to fly through, I probably wouldn't have read it. And then the last book I finished is Liquid Modernity by Zygmunt Bauman. And I was considering whether I put this on my list or not, but the truth is that I decided if I read a book cover to cover as I did this one, even if it is for work or my PhD thesis, I will count it. So yeah, I don't know if I should say a lot about this. I decided to give this 4 stars. I do really like this theory of Zygmunt Bauman about kind of what our modernity is now. He's calling it liquid because he says that a lot of things are not really stable anymore, so they're starting to move around a lot. So for example, if you're growing up in a certain place in the world, it's not very likely that you will stay in that place for your whole life. Like, you'll probably be moving cities or even states or even countries and stuff like that. Also, if you start working at a firm, you probably won't be there for your whole life, but you will change jobs like at least 10 times until you are retiring, basically. So this is kind of the setting of this book. So he's trying to show how the modernity is changing now to become that liquid modernity. And this book was actually published in, I think, 2001 for the first time. So he wrote it in 2000. And he mentions a lot about kind of the return of more nationalist views. And he actually explains why that is a common thing in liquid modernity. And reading it from, a 2020 perspective, where we know how strong some of these nationalist parties have become again, it is quite interesting that he saw that coming 20 years ago. So there's definitely some merit to his theory, I think. And if you're interested in that, I can highly recommend this book. It's also very short, and it is written in a very nice way, so it's easy to understand. He really tries to make this accessible so people can read it no matter their background. So yeah, Zygmunt Bauman, I think, was a great person and wrote great books. So now again, I'm just gonna quickly mention the books I am currently reading but have not finished yet as of the end of March. We have The Winter of the Witch, the 3rd book in the Winter Night trilogy, which I wanted to read in January, and I'm still making my way through this. We have Wonderthmas, the 2nd book in the Morrigan Crow or Nevermore series, which I wanted to be buddy reading with my best friend, and then Corona happened and we were both kind of so wrapped up on our work that we did not get around to finishing it in March. Then I have my newest audiobook, which is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. And since I'm not leaving my house and my partner's here all the time, I don't really listen to audiobooks right now. And then lastly, I have the Before Now and After Then. Peter Mon is uploading the videos on his channel. Peter Likes Books, so he's basically reading his own book, which you can't really buy right now, as an audiobook. So yeah, that is slowly progressing as he's uploading videos, and I have, been kind of catching up every now and then to, follow that audiobook. So that's all the books that I have read and I have finished, and maybe not finished, in March. Let me know how your reading went. I know many people struggled with reading in March. I'm so excited about the Owls Readathon now, and I have already started it but not finished a book for it yet, so that's gonna be interesting. I'm sorry if I stumbled over my words a little bit. Sometimes it's just so hard for me. I don't know why. But yeah, hope you're doing great. If you like this video, leave a like or a nice comment. I always appreciate those. And if you subscribe, I will talk to you soon with a fun video about lipsticks. So, bye!